Chào mừng quý vị và các bạn đến với chương trình Đồng tiền thông minh trên kênh truyền hình FBNC. Và ngày hôm nay thì chúng tôi và quý vị cùng gặp gỡ với khách mời chúng ta. Đó là ông Robert Thomason, là Phó Tổng Giám đốc Phát triển Kinh doanh Toàn cầu của CPA Australia. Hi, Mr. Thomason.
Hello, Cam.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So on December the 9th, CPA Australia just presented the member certificates to 16 new CPA members.
That's right.
What does that mean for them to have a CPA status?
Yeah. The CPA status is something that has now developed over 127 years around our part of the world. So somebody who has a CPA qualification, CPA Australia qualification, is recognised in our region. Our region covers an area from west of India, north of Beijing, down through Japan, takes in ASEAN, through New Zealand, underneath Australia, Pacific Islands, and across west of India. So we have an extraordinary region of people who are members of CPA Australia. We have 150,000 members of CPA Australia, and they work in 127 countries. So those people are recognised around the world, and the brand CPA Australia is built by our membership. So the new members of Vietnam will be part of that global membership of CPA Australia members.
So in short, it's a better chance for a better job, looking for a job
We
with
think
that
so.
CPA status?
Yeah, we think so. And that's what our members tell us, that they keep coming back to CPA Australia because it gives them a better job, a better opportunity with multinational organisations, with financial houses, with banks, with the big accounting firms, both local accounting firms and the international accounting firms.
But for a Vietnamese who get a CPA from CPA Australia, would that be he or she would be more competitive compared to other CPA members around the world?
We believe that the answer to that is yes. And it's interesting you say she. There are far more women now coming into the profession of accounting. And I've seen that even more in Vietnam than some of our other countries. You walk into an accounting classroom in a university here in Vietnam, and it's predominantly female.
Okay.
And females are proving to be very strong in our profession. And being a member of CPA Australia, they have that brand recognition of 127 years of CPA Australia.
So what is your commitments in terms of contributing to the development of the finance and accounting industry in Vietnam?
Well, it happens on a number of levels, Khan. We work very closely with the Vietnamese government. And we've had a very good relationship with the Minister of Finance and the Ministry of Finance here in Vietnam. We've also worked with the two local bodies, the VA-CPA and the VAA, who are the two representative bodies of accountants here in Vietnam. When we come into a new country, we don't come in with a view that we want to take the sovereign rights away from the government nor the people. So in Vietnam, it's the VA-CPA and the VAA who are responsible for the accounting and auditing profession. But we know people want to have an international designation. They want to have a global designation, one which will be recognised throughout the world. So we work very closely with those bodies. So we've worked, as I said, Ministry of Finance, we worked on the new audit laws, helped the Ministry of Finance with those. We've worked with the VA-CPA to strengthen the process of auditor accountability, so using some Australian expertise to work with the VA-CPA. So we've been very close to government.
So what do you think about the accounting and finance workforce in Vietnam right now, the human resources in terms of skills and knowledge and qualifications?
Yes, as good as anywhere else in the world. Like every country, universities have different levels of graduates coming out of their programs. Here in Vietnam, some of the universities are exactly the same as universities you'd see in Australia or in Singapore or in Hong Kong and China. Some students need to do a little bit of extra work before they come and become members of CPA Australia. Once they enrol into the program, they have to do 6 units of postgraduate study, and they also have to have 3 years of supervised experience in the workforce. So that when they become a CPA, when they become a member of CPA Australia, they've done the same work as somebody in Australia or somebody in China or somebody in India to become a member of CPA Australia. So they've become a world-class designation, and they're part of that world-class designation.
How about a job demand for accountants or auditors in an emerging market like Vietnam?
Even higher than in the more mature markets. One of the great things about being an accountant is if the economy is going well, is going north, is going up, you need accountants to account for the money. If the economy is going south, as the global financial crisis showed us, accountants are still needed to provide advice to banks, to provide advice to equity, to provide advice to debt funders, to shareholders about what's happening to their money. So accountants, regardless of the economy and the trends in the economy, the accountants will always have a job.
So you always need an accountant.
You always need an accountant. The other thing which is really important in emerging markets is the access to foreign direct investment, FDI. When foreign direct investment comes in, whether it's through a donor agency like the World Bank or Asia Development Bank, or when it's coming in the forms of debt or coming in the forms of equity, those providers of funds want to actually understand what's really happening to their money. And they're looking for accountants, and they're looking for accountants with an international qualification because they're the ones that they trust. They trust them because they understand the international financial reporting standards, and they trust them because they've had a global exposure to education and training, and they understand the flow of money, and they understand some of the ethics that's associated with equity and donor agencies. So in emerging markets, there is even more demand for accountants who've got a global qualification.
Sure. So what are some of the significant changes of the industry, finance and accounting, that the people who want to work for this industry or people who are working in this industry should pay attention to in a couple of years?
There's probably a few things. The first one is IFRS. I just mentioned International Financial Reporting Standards. This is the global framework of accounting standards. It's been pretty well accepted around the world.
We don't have it yet.
We don't have it in Vietnam yet. The Vietnamese government has indicated they want to work towards full adoption of IFRS, but haven't as yet indicated a date where that's going to happen. That's not unusual in ASEAN. Not all the ASEAN nations have adopted IFRS in full, but there will be mounting pressure as Vietnam participates in global trade, as Vietnam seeks foreign equity. There will be growing pressure on the Vietnamese government to ascribe a date so that the accountants in Vietnam will start to manage to IFRS. We're starting to see some of the universities here in Vietnam introduce IFRS training into their curriculum. That's important. You've got to start at that undergraduate level. Obviously, if you've done the CPA program, you'll have covered IFRS in the CPA program. So that's probably the first change. And that's a macro change, that's a global change.
Okay.
I think on another level, though, is the sort of work that accountants are now getting involved in. So once upon a time, accountants just looked after the accounts payable, accounts receivable, payroll. They did the profit and loss statement. They prepared a balance sheet. They reported to their shareholders, or they reported to government, as the case may be. Now we're seeing accountants looking after issues around sustainability. They're getting involved in things like integrated reporting, which looks at not just the money associated with the organisation, but might look at sustainable issues like use of carbon, disposal of waste, management of human resources, and all of these different elements that go to make up an organisation are now being reported by accountants.
Sure.
And that requires a much broader skill set from the accountants than it might have done, say, a decade ago, where it was traditional linear accounting work.
So what would be your one piece of advice for a young graduate who want to develop a career in accounting or finance or auditing?
So it's being passionate about your career. It's getting a good qualification at the university level. It's then getting a good qualification through a global designation. And of course, I'll say that CPA Australia is one of the best qualifications. It's then finding the right job, but being aware of your career all the time. Don't get into a job and sit and wait till somebody comes and knocks on your door and says, how about, thinking about this or thinking about that. You should be thinking and taking responsibility for your career and making decisions about where your career is going to go. Whether that's in a multinational or a large accounting firm, or in a local accounting firm, or a local state-owned enterprise, or in a small and medium-sized enterprise. There are so many different opportunities for accountants. Every organisation needs an accountant, and whether you're a member of the public who is seeking accounting services, or you're an employer, every organisation has an accountant.
How about for a Vietnamese professional who get a CPA from CPA Australia and want to explore their career in Australia?
Yes.
Any chance?
Oh, absolutely. CPA Australia is very well recognised in Australia, so the qualifications are well recognised. What we see more and more is, even in small and medium-sized firms in Australia, they are setting up practices where they have a Vietnamese connection. So that Vietnamese investors who are coming into Australia want to be able to speak with somebody who understands Vietnam, and vice versa. Australian firms who are seeking to invest in Vietnam want to have somebody who can act as an intermediary. So there's enormous opportunity in that space, either coming in as an investor into Australia, or coming in as a potential employee or equity holder in a firm. There are many opportunities in Australia.
Good to know. Thank you so much for sharing.
Good luck.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thưa quý vị, vừa rồi là những chia sẻ của ông Robert Thomason là Phó Tổng Giám đốc Phát triển Kinh doanh Toàn cầu của tổ chức CPA Australia. Và đến đây thì phần 1 của chương trình Đồng tiền thông minh ngày hôm nay sẽ được phép tạm dừng. Quý vị có thể xem lại chương trình trên trang web đồng tiền thông minh fbnc.com hoặc là facebook.com/đồng tiền thông minh. Mong quý vị đừng chuyển kênh, chúng tôi sẽ còn quay trở lại sau ít phút giải lao.